quite some time.
Okay, thanks for this. That's Katie Simpson in Doha, Qatar. In a joint statement, Prime Minister Mark Carney, along with the leaders of the UK, France, Germany, Italy, the Netherlands, and Japan, condemned Iran's attacks on civilian ships and infrastructure. Together, they call on Iran to cease immediately its attacks and other attempts to block the Strait of Hormuz to commercial shipping. And to get shipping going again, they expressed readiness to contribute to appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage through the strait. Right now, safe passage for many remains impossible. The cost of the war keeps rising. And as Paul Hunter shows us, the Trump administration is now asking Congress for $200 billion to help fund it.
From the very get-go, word from the U.S. leadership has been that victory in Iran is effectively at hand.
We fight to win, and we are winning.
Yet now, the call for more money with which to get there. $200 billion more.
As far as $200 billion, I think that number could move, obviously. It takes money to kill bad guys.
On that, some Republicans quick to sign off.
Nobody asked what did it cost to win World War II. You just had to win. So whatever it costs to finish this is worth it.
But support is far from unanimous, certainly not from Democrats, even from some hardcore Republicans.
I will not vote for a war supplemental. No, I am a no. I am tired of the industrial war complex getting all of our hard-earned tax dollars.
We are substantially ahead of schedule.
The concern is that asking for so much more money signals the war is, in fact, far from over. On the big ask, says Trump,
we want to be sure, and it's a small price to pay to make sure that we stay tippy-top.
Adding to the worry this is just ramping up, those 5,000 Marines now headed to the region. And so, say some.
As we move more and more assets over to the region, there's a temptation to use them, and we don't really know why they're going. So I think this is a moment of significant flux. It's pretty chaotic, and I think they're doing a lot on the fly.
Trump denies a ground invasion looms, but that comes with a caveat.
No, I'm not putting troops anywhere. If I were, I certainly wouldn't tell you.
Sitting with Japan's prime minister and asked why he hadn't sought the help of other countries before attacking Iran, Donald Trump said it was to catch Iran off guard while drawing an unexpected parallel.
You know, when we go in, we went in very hard, and we didn't tell anybody about it because we wanted surprise. Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay? Why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay? Right?
You can see at the end of that clip, Erica, the Japanese prime minister looking over at her team sitting nearby and kind of locking eyes with one of them as if to say, didn't see that one coming.
Yeah, no kidding, Paul. And just separately, word from the Middle East, a U.S. fighter jet was hit in flight today.
A U.S. stealth fighter, Erica, an F-35, hit by suspected Iranian fire during a combat mission over Iran. If true, it'd be the first time a U.S. fighter jet has been hit by Iran since the war began. U.S. saying just today, Iranian air defenses have been, quote, flattened. The jet made an emergency landing. The incident is under investigation.
All right, that's Paul Hunter tonight in Washington. Pierre Poilievre is making his case for tariff-free trade to millions of Americans and Canadians, appearing on the popular podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. As Kate McKenna explains, the chat covered a lot of ground, including Trump's 51st state threats.
How are you, sir? Pleasure to meet you.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
With over 20 million subscribers, Joe Rogan's podcast could be Pierre Poilievre's biggest stage yet.
Do you mind if I present you with something right out of the gate?
Sure.
All right, this is...
This gift of a kettlebell embossed with a Canadian flag kicked off a wide-ranging chat, including history, mixed martial arts, and maple syrup, and plenty of Canada-U.S. politics.
There's so much that we could be doing together as neighbors and partners if we got rid of those tariffs. We're very proudly Canadian, so we're never going to be the 51st state, and I just wish you'd knock that shit off.
Poilievre pushed his philosophy of more resource development in Canada, better fiscal management, and smaller government, but says on cross-border issues, Prime Minister Mark Carney is taking the lead.
Even in my visit down here, I'm sending him text messages to tell him what's going on, to try and support his work. I won't criticize him on foreign soil.
I understand.
But
good for you.
Yeah, I mean, we have a mutual
That's
respect.
such a Canadian thing to do.
That is a very Canadian thing to do.
So polite.
You know, we had a great conversation. Joe's a great guy, and my mission was very simple: fight for Canada.
After recording with Rogan, Poilievre said appealing to Americans directly could help mend Canada's fractured relationship with its southern neighbor.
One of the biggest leverage points we have to fight for tariff-free trade, fight for our auto, steel, aluminum, and lumber workers is the goodwill of the American people.
At home, the response to Poilievre's push has been positive.
I'm not sure I see a downside in promoting trade with Canada.
Look, we could be years away from an election. The polls are not good for Conservatives or for Pierre right now. So why not try to do something like this and let's see if it shakes things up a bit?
The podcast appearance ended with Joe Rogan saying if he was Canadian, he'd vote for Poilievre 100%. It's not his first endorsement. He also supported Donald Trump in the lead up to the 2024 election.
And Kate, this podcast isn't just popular in the United States, it's also #1 in Canada too.
Yeah, and Poilievre's message is also for the Canadians listening at home. This week, the Conservative leader has toured the U.S., visiting Detroit, Houston, and now New York, pushing a pro-Canada message and aiming to blunt criticism that he hasn't been strong enough in promoting Canadian trade under threat by Donald Trump.
Thanks for this, Kate McKenna in Ottawa. And we'll have much more on this in a bit when the At Issue team with guest host Catherine Cullen take it on. That's in about 20 minutes. The federal government is rearming Canada's soldiers with a new weapons procurement deal.
The Defence Investment Agency has awarded Colt Canada with a contract to supply the Canadian Armed Forces with up to 65,402 assault rifle systems.
The new guns will replace models in service for nearly 2 decades. The initial order, roughly 30,000 weapons, will cost $307 million. Colt Canada has committed to include at least 80% Canadian content in the new rifles. The Supreme Court of Canada will hear challenges to the Liberal government's firearms ban. In 2020, Ottawa outlawed certain guns deemed assault-style firearms. That list has grown to about 2,500 gun models. Firearms rights groups argued the government lacked the authority to ban the guns. The court will hear 4 separate appeals together. 2 men have been deported for their involvement in a string of violent extortion cases, all targeting South Asian communities, according to Edmonton police. Sam Sampson now with what we know about their alleged crime network and the efforts to take it down.
To the members of the Southeast Asian community, you remain a priority to police.
That message from Edmonton police during an update on extortion crime rings. 2 men have been deported without charges, 3 people under investigation by the Canada Border Services Agency, and 51 more suspects identified.
Where the risk is local, the revenue is global, and the fallout is the erosion of the very trust that holds the Southeast Asian community together.
Arshdeep Singh and Sukhnaz Singh Sandhu were deported earlier this year. Police wouldn't say where to, only that removing them from the country would help the community feel safer. Federal documents allege the men have a long history of fraud and violence.
This strategy worked quickly. It eliminated the threat, ended the extortions by this group in the Edmonton area, and also prevented them from affecting other communities.
Extortion schemes targeting South Asian communities have spread across Canada, including online and in-person threats, arsons, and shootings. But some argue charges would have provided more transparency.
It's completely opaque, and just relying on immigration enforcement doesn't give the public any information that is actually going to reassure them that they're going to be safe. What the community is looking for is absolutely more transparent mechanisms like criminal prosecutions.
This former police chief and BC Solicitor General says there's no guarantee criminal activity stops once deportees are outside Canada.
But now what we've done is we've decided at the outset, well, hey, you come to Canada, you commit crimes, you're from a foreign country, we're just going to deport you. It just takes away from the confidence that Canadians need within our judicial system.
Police also worry other criminal organizations in Canada have started using this extortion model and say they're working with other law enforcement groups to tackle what they call an alarming trend. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Edmonton.
An Ontario mother and her 2 daughters have been stuck in Egypt for more than a year. The girls cannot leave the country after their father obtained a travel ban claiming he lived in Egypt. But as Angelina King explains, records show he lives here in Canada.
Right there's the airport.
From her balcony, Shannon Algazar can see planes taking off from Cairo International Airport. A frustrating sight since she and her two daughters, Ava and Noor, have been stuck in Egypt for more than a year.
Canada is their home. They're the victims and continue being victimized.
Algazar, who's from Ontario, took her daughters to Egypt to visit family on their father's side and learn about their Egyptian heritage.